Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday. I'm doing Whitmer. Therefore, it's time for the weekly Whitmer Wednesday wisdom, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I like alliteration. All W's sounds cool. This week's going to be an interesting topic. We did a little last second change after a little interaction I had today. So I decided to change the topic a little bit. This week we're going to talk about radicalization and extremism, mainly because today, well, we'll get into that when I talk about this, but we're going to talk about what it means, why it's out there, and what radicalized me and made me an anti-government extremist. So before we begin, I like to keep these short, right around 10, 15 minutes. People don't really want to see, no one wants to hear people talk for 2 hours anymore. So setting my timer, 15 minutes will go. So how this came about was today, everyone has an opinion on the Nashville shooting. Everyone has an opinion on that. And someone I knew posted that I'm pro Second Amendment, but only cops, police, and military should have assault rifles. First of all, if you have to say you're pro Second Amendment, but you are not pro Second Amendment, shut up. First of all. Second of all, if you believe only cops and military should have, quote, assault rifles, you don't know the purpose of the Second Amendment. Shut up. So, I commented something like, I completely agree as a vegan who only eats meat. And then, chaos ensued. Some people didn't understand my joke and told me that vegans don't eat meat. Not the point, right? So chaos ensued. Everyone had a good time except for some people that I upset. And I got a couple messages from people that really didn't like what I had to say. And one woman said that I was a radicalized extremist gun nut. She wasn't wrong. She whatever. But I asked her. I said, what did I do wrong that really hurt you? And she said, well, you're extreme and you think you need a gun. And she goes on this rant and it got me thinking, am I considered a radicalized extremist? I don't believe so. But looking at my history and looking at my past, I kind of said, what made me who I am today? What radicalized me? What really made me extremely anti-government? And the answer is the response to things like this. The response to things like the Nashville shooting, the response to COVID, the response to poverty, the response to problems, the response to everything going on. That's what really made me super anti-government and quote unquote radicalized me. It wasn't, watching YouTube. It wasn't reading books. It was just, the general population's response to everything, so let's delve into that. So we'll start with, little Dwayne was born, had a childhood. I grew up and, I got my first job in as an accountant, and I started working with people to file their taxes. And I realized that a lot of people pay a lot of their income to taxes, and not just income taxes. There's property taxes, there's sales tax, there's utility tax, there's phone tax, there's hotel tax, there's gas tax, there's travel tax, there's estate tax. You guys know, I'm missing a ton. And I said, wow, we as a country are giving 60% of our income to a system that doesn't give a shit about us. And that kind of that started me thinking, maybe the system kind of doesn't work and it's set up to, fail. And I started, going on with my life and, Sandy Hook started and, New York State was the first state to pass the SAFE Act, and the SAFE Act went into place. And all the SAFE Act did was not prevent mass shootings, because mass shootings still happen in New York. Including the one in May in Buffalo, New York, where the shooter specifically picked Buffalo, New York because of gun control and its gun laws. And I saw the reaction, people saying, well, it's the guns, it's the guns, it's the guns. That's the new thing after Nashville is it's the guns. Failing to mention that this country is in a soft civil war, and has colossal issues with its foundational, bearing of society. It's the guns. And I realized that, one part that just kind of made me the anti-government radical extremist that I am was the hypocrisy in the suburban white liberal, the absolute shit show that is the suburban white liberal. And coming out of any mass shooting, you see it. So you have a very, very minute chance of ever being in a mass shooting. I mean, it's like 0.001%. Someone who's better at math did the math, and it's this tiny, minute percent chance of ever being involved in a mass shooting. And because you're scared, you need to do some crazy, over-the-top, overcompensation laws because, God forbid that 0.001% chance happens to you. Unintended consequences be damned. And so the suburban white liberal supports gun control and gun confiscation and more strict punishment for gun laws, forgetting that, gun control, the origins of gun control was to keep minorities from owning guns, and to prevent freed slaves from taking up arms against the KKK. But also that gun control now and most gun control laws have been proven to negatively impact low-income and minorities at a very, very much higher rate than white people. And I get a kick out of that. So the suburban white liberal likes to talk about fighting systemic racism and Black Lives Matter and doing better for society and we need to do better for minorities, and we support Black lives and BLM, and I'll put BLM and flags and stuff all over my Facebook profile. But as soon as there's a 0.001% chance of you being involved in a mass shooting, you're willing to sell those people out. You're willing to say, we're willing to pass laws that'll, negatively impact massive communities for zero impact on my life. I think that's terribly fucking racist. I do. I think that is a terribly racist decision-making process. But we can't have that conversation, right? Because if we have that conversation, they're just going to see how like kids are dying. Great, I understand that. You're right, kids are dying, and look, school shootings are terrible. No one should do school shootings. I don't believe that. Those are a good benefit to society, but overcompensating because of your irrational fear, in which you leave minority communities at a significant disadvantage, isn't the solution. And that seems to be what the only solution that the left is putting out there. And that's a little bit of what radicalized me, right? Is seeing that these people are willing to destroy lives of people they don't know in the name of their safety, right? And then you had COVID. COVID was a great example of this. Again, the suburban white liberal. COVID happened and people were sick. And look, COVID sucked, right? People died. I'm not saying COVID wasn't real. I'm not saying COVID was a hoax. COVID was real. People died. It was bad flu. People died. But you have, again, the comfortable suburban white liberals saying, we need to lock everyone down. We need to put people in jail if they're violating a curfew. We need to overcompensate because God forbid my Meemaw might get sick and die. And once again, the COVID response has shown time and time again that it negatively impacted low-income and minority communities. But the suburban white liberal did not care. They were willing to sacrifice the health and life of minorities so they could feel better about themselves. And more radicalization, more extremism coming from people like me, because I was like, this is insanity. This is absolutely insane. This is batshit crazy. But, that's what happens. So now we have the Jewish society where we have this like battle lines are being drawn, right? Whether it's ideology, political parties, it's race, it's income, it's class. We're seeing that America is in a soft civil war, and we have a problem with kind of the battle lines are being drawn. And what's it going to be? Who's going to be, on what side? And personally, I think it should be the American people versus the political class, but it's never going to be that's never going to happen. Unfortunately, I think the political class has a good chunk of Americans duped by thinking that like your neighbor's the problem while they're taking 60% of your income to take their friends to Epstein Island. But, whatever, what do I know? So, you have these battle lines being drawn and you have these problems. And I remember one of the first things that really took me from being kind of a moderate to extremely anti-government, anti-state was when I was younger. This is maybe like 8 years ago. We met there was this meeting of some business meeting, right? And it was this weird like business networking group, and I went to, and I was like, whatever, I just started my business. I should network. I should meet people. I should get out there. Soon realized I fucking hate people, right? But I went, and it was this weird thing where the speaker spoke about, you know, race and privilege and society, and I was like, that's weird for a business meeting, you know, where I don't know what I want to sell my services. I want to get more clients. I don't know what to say here. And she went on about how, you know, it's easier for white people to own and open businesses, which technically you just have to go to New York State Department of Corporations and start a business, and it costs like $150 to form a corporation. And they don't ask your race, but I guess whatever, not the point, you know, whatever. And so she went on about how, you know, white business owners are privileged and they come from a place of privilege. And I was like, again, why is that fucking, I just want to sell accounting services to people. I don't understand here, you know? And so, you know, she went on about how it doesn't matter if you grew up rich or poor, you know, you were given privileges and that's how you're going to start your business. And I was super confused. I was super lost, right? So the meeting comes to a close. And one thing I did take out of this was that I said, you know, she makes a good point. I grew up poor. I grew up in a low income area, and I didn't have much. My family didn't have much, but you know, being poor in a rural area is different than being poor in an urban area, right? Because of the other issues, whether it's, you know, gang violence or violence in general. And, you know, growing up poor, urban, or, you know, rural poor where I did, we didn't have some of these other issues that the urban poor does, including over policing, but we're not ready for that conversation. And she got mad at me. She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you know, when I grew up, where I grew up being poor, I will concede that I did have opportunities because, you know, we had some role models that, you know, owned businesses and did other things where, you know, some of my friends and clients who are in inner city areas, there's a less of a role model situation, less of a mentorship, less of a tutoring program. And she goes, well, you can't say, what are you saying? Are you saying there's no role models in the city? And I said, well, no, I'm just saying that there's fewer. And she got all up in arms over that. And I said, no, I'm confused. I'm being told that I was given privileges, and those privileges have made me better and more prepared for life, or whatever you're saying. So when I acknowledge the privileges, I'm being told that I'm racist and I can't say that because we're all equal. But we're not equal because I was given privileges. But if I acknowledge the privilege, I'm not allowed to do that because I'm insulting other people. But if I don't acknowledge the privilege, I'm insulting other people by saying we're equal, but we're equal because if I don't think we're equal, then I'm racist. But if we're not equal, then equality. I'm confused. And she goes, you just don't get it. And I said, I don't. Explain it to me. And she said, you know, well, you're white, so you have privileges. And I said, what privileges? And she said, you were given chances that other people didn't get. And I said, well, no, I just said that. I just said that. And she goes, yeah, but you can't say it. I said, well, then what the fuck? You know, and it's stuff like that that's really pushed me away from working with, you know, a lot of groups that don't want to talk about issues. They don't want to talk policy. They don't want to talk solutions. They want to talk, you know, everyone else is wrong and they're right. And I really can't see a solution when it's no conversation, right? So that's why I started to become a radical extremist that I am today, was that I realized that in general, people are shitty and dumb. Let's be honest. The average American is not a very bright individual. And those people vote emotionally every year. They don't really care about the big picture. They don't care about the unintended consequences. They don't care about what's going on. They want to vote with their emotions and feelings. And the people they vote for are the shittiest people that have ever existed. And they're getting worse. The average politician, maybe 100 years ago, was probably all right. The average politician today is a colossal piece of shit criminal who shouldn't be allowed to make any decisions. And these people keep putting them in charge of my life. And I don't feel that A, they have the solutions to my problems, and B, they care about the solutions to my problems. I think they care about retaining power, controlling the country, and getting what they need through taxation and padding their own pensions and benefits and helping their friends while pretending to care about the average person. And the average person is duped by it and believes in it, but really doesn't understand the bigger picture. And seeing how that's been going and seeing every shooting, every time there's a shooting, I'm told that guns are the problem. As someone who's been around guns my whole life, matter of fact, there's a gun sitting over here next to me. either look, I can make the dumb joke. I'm not going to make the joke, but the firearms have no sense of human nature, right? Because they don't have the central nervous system. They're not alive. They don't have a brain stem. They don't have legs. They don't have feet. They don't have a nervous system. Firearms are a non-living thing, and you can blame them for your problems, but there has to be someone behind it controlling it. And why we see these mass shootings is, quite frankly, because our country is in a soft civil war, where for years we were told if someone doesn't agree with you, they're the enemy, they're a problem, you can't agree with them, there's no conversation, there's no moral, belief. It's all, if you don't get vaccinated, you're a white supremacist bigot. If you, don't do this, you're a big bad person. And we've essentially dehumanized people that don't think, act, talk, look, believe what we believe. And so when you do that, you're going to see more violence and more problems and more chaos. Mass shootings are never going to go away. They're going to get worse. Politically motivated mass shootings are not going to go away. They're going to get worse. Political violence is not going to go away. It's going to get worse. We are in, the end times of our nation, not in like literal sense, like, a giant meteor is not going to come. A meteor isn't going to come from the world. The world, sun's not going to explode. But as an empire, we're going to see, more political violence, more tension, more problems. And the biggest reason is the overbearing central government we have. As people fight to control the progressive central government we have, and control of the progressive central government is a fight in itself. We've made our central government too powerful. So now, killing someone to gain control of that is worth it. And you're going to see more and more of it. And people are going to blame each other for when they don't get their way and central government's too big. Unfortunately, this is the downside of a large progressive central government. And this is what we're going to see. This is the new normal. Unfortunately, it's not going to go away. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to have a magic solution to it. And that's quite frankly that. So this is a little bit brief. I'm still going on, but it's been 17 minutes. I don't want to talk forever, but this is a little step into what Radicalize doing. And mostly the answer is people. People have radicalized me, politicians that think that they should control everything I do. Well, meanwhile, they're going to Epstein Island and literally buying children. They're getting caught with their pants down. Republican politicians speaking out against gay marriage, getting caught in bathhouses. Democratic politicians like Ted Lieu supporting gun control while caught illegally selling guns. The average politician is a criminal who probably shouldn't be making any decisions, and yet they're controlling almost every aspect of our lives. And that's disheartening. It's very sad to see. So really, that's kind of a little brief insight of what Radicalize is doing, Whitmer. I don't know what we're gonna talk about next week. It's tax season. I might cancel next week. I'm tired. But yeah, that's it. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next Wednesday for next week's weekly Whitmer Wednesday. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you guys. Take care and enjoy.